I flew another 20 missions, and on 14 September, we were going up to hit a railroad bridge north of Hanoi. Interestingly enough, there was also a MiG base right near the bridge. I was number 4 in the flight. We raced along low altitude, actually. We came right over the top of Hanoi that day at low altitude. There were about 3 surface-to-air missiles came through the flight. That scared the crap out of me. So I broke one way, and I guess the rest of the flight went the other way. So I rolled in and I dropped 8 750-pound bombs, and as I pulled off, I actually saw them hit the bridge, luckily enough, and I watched a span drop into the river. So I said, man, that's great. And I called, I said, 4's off, and the flight lead says, you're where? I said, 4's off. He said, well, we're 20 miles away. We'll come back and get you. And just about that time, there was a MiG-17 probably 1,500 feet from me. And it looked like he was shooting at me. So he was here, I'm here, he's here, about to shoot my watch off. And I remember the guys in training told me about this maneuver that we never did. It was called a high G roll underneath. And I said, well, this might be the time to try this. Well, I did that, and now I'm pointed straight down, no airspeed, and about maybe 4,000 feet above the ground. So now I light the afterburner, and I probably pulled out at about 500 feet when I got enough speed going. And I decided it was time to leave the afterburner in and get the hell out of Dodge. So I turned east, because we're going to go out over the Gulf of Tonkin and then come back. So they just said, head for the coast, we'll rejoin out over the water. So now I'm a singleton running along, and we were actually, I thought I was further south. We were about 20 miles south of China. At least that's where I was. Shortly thereafter, I saw it, I'm heading for the coast, going about 550. Not an afterburner, and I saw this little glint of a spark or something. I looked over, and here come a MiG-21 on me. So I said, well, I'll give him a turn. I turned a little bit, and I said, this is not going to work out well at all. And I could just see the coast out in front of me, and I knew the MiG wasn't with me because there's no way he could hang with me. So I came out of afterburner and started a climb, and as I crested a ridgeline, all hell broke loose. I mean, I watched part of my wing come off, firelight came on again, and as I was told later by the guys in the flight, I didn't hear this because I think I was breathing so hard, and I was scared, totally scared at this point, because I'd been here before, and I'm going, not again. And I just crossed the water line, and about 500 feet, I said, it's time to get out of this thing. Did the normal ejection, the canopy didn't come off, so I just squeezed the ejection triggers and went through the canopy. And I remember tumbling very, very violently, and then I hit the water. I have no idea what happened. And the flight lead said he went in with the airplane. So they actually started heading for the tanker. And I went down in the water. I was all tied up in the parachute. Fortunately, I carried a knife on my left side. I got that knife and I started cutting away. So I started sawing away, and I remember I looked up, it was late afternoon, and I kind of looked up, and I said, well, I'm going to drown. What a crappy way to go. Finally got to where I could get to one water wing. I deployed it, and that was enough to bring me back up to the surface. So I got the other one, and then I cut my way out of the parachute. They said that from when the airplane hit, a little over a minute, and they heard the distress beacon come on. So they figured I was underwater for about a minute. Got into my life raft, which I still had, and pulled out my trusty radio. But at that point, then I carried 2 radios instead of just the normal one. Called my flight lead and told him I'm alive and I'm in my life raft, and come get me. And he said, we got to go to the tanker and we'll get the rescue forces coming. Well, when they said forces, I thought it'd be an armada like I saw the first time. Well, it turned out the rescue armada was going to consist of 1 Navy helicopter and 2 Navy A-1s, because we were so far north. It turns out I had managed to bail out in a major shipping lane that they ferried supplies from China down to North Vietnam. So the islands were heavily defended. There were guns everywhere. And I guess they thought I'd gone in with the airplane, because not much went on for about the first 45 minutes to an hour. All of a sudden, I started hearing gunfire. And going, uh-oh, maybe they know I'm here. And now I see boats starting to come. And I'm going, this is not gonna be a good day for me. It's a long haul from here to prison. And I really didn't want to play that game. And a little bit later, I hear a lot of gunfire. And my flight lead said that the rescue forces are trying to get in. The Navy helicopter, and I learned this later when I met the guy who flew the helicopter and one of the A1 pilots. They tried 3 different routes to get in to get me. And that was when I started hearing a lot of gunfire. And they had to turn around each time because of the severity of the gunfire. And in fact, the helicopter crew took a vote to see if they wanted to try it again. Well, they did. They found another way in. I'm exhausted. You know, the adrenaline and the excitement, and maybe I'm going to get out of here. And of course, I'm looking, I said, there's 2 A1s, that's it. And this chopper, and everybody's getting a crap shot out of them. So here we go, the helicopter, I'm in the hoist underneath, they're bringing me up. And the 2 A1s are flying around out in front of us, strafing the beaches as we go along, because they're getting shot at the whole time. So they get me about, it was kind of like the first time, about 40 feet from the helicopter, from the door, in the hoist brakes. So now we're getting out of there. They're getting shot at, and I'm swinging around underneath the helicopter going, oh man, this is gonna be a long trip. Well, they finally figured out how to get me up. So they get me up into the helicopter. Now it's the same deal. I want to go hug and kiss everybody and say thanks. They're busy. They had 2 guns, one on each side of the helicopter, and they're blazing away with these machine guns, and I want to hug them. So they actually let me shoot one of the guns for a second. And then they finally said, that's enough of that, and they strapped me to the floor to get me out of the way. So I was saved, and they too had booze on the helicopter, so they gave me a couple miniatures to calm me down. Then I got to thank everybody, and then now the adrenaline's gone. I'm exhausted, which was really, really great.